and I couldn't stay in it anymore. I had to go down to my neighbour, whose place was a lot cooler than mine. Damn me for getting a really thick insulated, what are called, underlay for winter.
Well, this is it.
Underneath my carpets.
This is it. For some strange reason, the British built their homes with the intention of keeping the heat in because during winter we don't actually want to die of the cold. Strange, I know. And it comes back to bite you in the really, really hot weather, where your entire house goes, toasty. I like this.
Don't worry.
Mm-hmm.
In Korea, on a military base, they won't let us lower our thermostat below 70 degrees.
Zoinks.
And I lived on the 8th floor.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I assume Korea gets really warm. I know Japan becomes a melting pot in the summer.
Oh, yeah, no, like... in July, it kept reaching over 100 degrees. With the humidity.
Oof.
Yeah, outside, it's like normal weather, 87. Humidity, 102.
37 degrees. Sorry, I'm just having to do a quick conversion there. 37 degrees Celsius. Yeah, that's not fun.
Yeah, sod that.
Not fun at all. I was on the London Underground once in 37 degrees. I'm surprised I came back up again.
You did. You were just several pounds less heavy than you went in.
Yeah. Brutal. No, as I say, I like the sun. I do wish for a nice middle ground where it's like, it's just not constantly raining, but then also not, everything's on fire. There must be a nice, a nice temperate, 20 degrees, I don't know. Something like that. You take what you can get.
Sadly, yes.
So the majority of the party is here.
Majority of the party is here, yes, and the stream actually started 2 minutes ago, so they've enjoyed a nice little conversation from us about temperature.
Can we get rid of one of the worker bees and possibly change it out for a Talon-class shuttle pod?
We will get there when we get there, but first things first, I just need to confirm that you guys are all logged in happily to Forge Foundry.
Yes.
I think we're short of Chris. Chris,
I'm Minuten Bitter. Sorry, I have not. Launch. I was too busy, thinking about the weather.
I thought you said you were a mutant. I didn't realize you said ein Minute Bitter. I'm a mutant. That's good to know, Chris, but I still need you to log into Foundry.
Don't tell anyone. I say on stream.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, fine. There's only one other person watching. Hi!
I'm in.
Excellent. And locked in. Excellent. Right. Everybody who wants to, tied into Sirenscape and hearing the adventure music. It's just faded out just that instant. Thank you, Sirenscape. So everybody that wants it, got it. I will take the enduring silence, as I may be. Okay, either way, I am going to kick things along by turning off the ship rumble, and then turning off the adventure music, and we're going to depart for just a couple of seconds as we run this intro video. So back with you in just about a minute. Excuse us, folks. Hello, everybody, and welcome along to the further adventures of the crew of the USS Combs. I am MJ, the GM, otherwise known as Matt, and I will be your games master for the next 3 hours or so. Welcome along to my crew, as per usual. We don't have everybody here, I am afraid, as I just stick on some general rumble ambience and pick up the adventure music where we left off. We are going to be down our operations officer, Lieutenant Phlesc, and we're also going to be down our security officer, Lieutenant Gerkow. This session, hopefully next session, we'll at least have Lieutenant Phlesc back with us, or at the very least Mark, his player. So in the meantime, we have to make do with only 2/3 of our usual complement. But you guys should have no problems handling all of this, I am sure. So, first things first, was there anything anybody was about to ask as far as questions, comments, concerns, or other such stuff before we get things rolling too far? I know, Elizabeth, you want the Klingon shuttle and the Klingon scout ship, and we'll get to all of that business when we can. Heck, at this rate, I may as well change this to a Klingon campaign, but not so much so far. Chris, anything you want to promote while we're here?
Hello. Oh, thank you. Just my YouTube channel as always, I guess. YouTube.com/TheAtterCrisp. There's been nothing new yet, though I am working currently on a sequel video to my road trip adventure review, which people seem to like quite a lot. So I'm just reviewing another game in that series called Penny Racers. It's a very sort of niche Japanese arcade racing game from the year 2001 or so that'll be coming out soon. But yeah, that's about it really for me at the moment.
Neatos. I do know that our other Chris Bell, has recently made mention that and I've completely forgotten where you found it now. On Audible, I think. The next part of... Ooh, good grief, I am not very good at remembering what Chris's... Nope, it's completely gone. I blame Matt for handing me the Klingon rulebook. Well, if you're gonna go half Klingon, Liz, you gotta expect me to at least do some background research. And then, yes, I had a look at the Klingon rulebook as well, and I went, that could be nice. But
like how I also put it, it's a me!
It's a me, Elizabeth. Yes. Yes, indeed, yes. Right, what was I saying? Sadly, I cannot remember for the life of me what Chris Bell's audio drama that he's part of. I will make sure to put it in the link in the description of the YouTube video later on, I promise. But that's what he's up to. So anybody else got any other announcements or stuff they want to plug before we move on? Cool. In which case, we're going to get straight into science. Because that was one of the things we were going to start discussing with you guys, are science projects that are done by members of the crew, specifically your own characters, as kind of like, what do they call it, downtime actions to happen in between episodes. And I do believe our chief engineer has got a project in mind.
Yes.
So, what was this project that that Tavish wanted to start investigating and undertaking?
So she's trying to literally, she's trying to make a kind of AI, put it into her brain.
Okay.
You know, it would have constraints on it, on this AI. It's more of a, you know, a problem solver, or if she needs to do
So this is a cybernetic implant that's going to be connected directly to Tavish's brain for the purposes of doing complex computations, that kind of thing?
Yeah, very complex stuff, yes. Basically, just think, Borg, but without...
You're really selling this, dude.
Hold on. Borg without their... without the...
ethnic cleansing.
Ethnic cleansing, yeah. I was
Is
trying
it
to find
ethnic
the right
cleansing?
words.
Because it's more like ethnic assimilation, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, without the assimilation, it's to, process her thoughts, her being able to, not just multitask, but multitask.
So she wants to create some way of enhancing her own intellect.
Yes.
And hello to you too, Suitable Substrate. Welcome to the madness as we are embarking upon what sounds like a very interesting and potentially very dangerous science project. All in the name of giggles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She wants to test it out on herself, but this could also there's a reason why she wants to do it, because sometimes you will have officers
Ship systems
who have...
go out, yeah. And officers who also... Oh, right, yeah, because you want to be able to... You want to be able to upload like station-specific information into Tavish's brain so that she could take over somebody else's post if necessary.
Yes. Yeah.
So it needs exloading and inloading abilities. Okay.
Yeah. It's also for crew members in any Starfleet personnel who eventually if they take a very serious injury to their brains and stuff, that this system could help
people with brain
take
injuries
over.
come back again. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
there,
it has.
there isn't. She's got her personal reasons for doing it, but there is a. Well, this could help Starfleet do this.
Is it? If you understand this, is this Lieutenant Tavish using AI to take other crew members' jobs?
It does. Yeah. She
It does seem very chat GPT, doesn't it?
Just have a Tavish on one starship. She should be able to.
Tavish GPT.
Tavish, we need warp 6 in 5 minutes. I can't do that for you, Captain.
Tavish, why is your voice coming out of all of the comm systems on the ship?
We just watched that TNG. We just watched that Next Generation episode where Barclay just becomes the computer, and it's
yes.
But be careful. It's a dangerous road.
It is a dangerous road, but it also it makes a certain amount of wacky sense since Tavish has got Mad Engineer as a value. So we are pretty much playing up to type here.
Yeah.
Because it very much becomes the idea of, guys, you know what would be awesome if I could increase the computational abilities of my brain? Are you sure this is a good idea? Oh, this is a brilliant idea! I'm going to go ahead and do it right now! No, really, seriously, are you sure?
I'd like to point out that Lieutenant Phlesc is happy to help me with this.
Is he now?
Yes.
That's all right
he
then.
did say this to me last
I remember
week,
actually, Mark did say he was
Dr.
up for
Sot
it.
has reservations.
Yeah, Dr.
Well,
yeah.
Yes, and Dr. Sot, I hasten to note, is probably going to be someone who's going to be needed for this at some point. So, let me explain how this is going to work. So, I'm using my own interpretation of the rules found in the Star Trek Adventures rulebook. There is an entire section on utilizing the scientific method and giving rules for how to use it as a means of breaking down how much time these little science projects can have. And the scientific method, as found in the rulebook, doesn't necessarily have to be used just for the downtime stuff. They can be used in-game as well. So, they're very... It's similar in many ways to the extended task. but with a few differences. So the main thing we're going to get first is you can choose. You've got your idea of what your project is and what you want to achieve out of it. Now you have to choose the avenues of investigation. Also, they're known as in the. Let me get that up properly. In the rulebook, they mention them as hypotheses. What they essentially are is the identification of between 3 to 5 different avenues of investigation, such as, in this instance, one of the obvious avenues of investigation is going to be cybernetics. Another obvious investigational avenue is going to be AI programming or computer programming. So there's 3 possible avenues of investigation right there. If you can identify between 3 and 5 potential avenues of investigation, it is then my job to identify 2, not out loud. I will be the one deciding which avenue, if any, is the correct one. And I will keep that to myself. And then you, whoever's involved in this project, doesn't have to be just one person. Obviously, if it's one person that's come up, one character, that's come up with the idea for this project, it would make sense for them to be the lead. But they can ask for help from others in order to make it a group project. But nonetheless, there was a point to this, yes. And more often than not, folks that I've worked with in the other group, they tend to, as the avenues of investigation, like to use their focuses. Because that makes sense. You're going with your strengths and your specialties in determining how successful you're going to be with creating these projects. So if you can identify an avenue of investigation that also corresponds with one of your focuses, then you're usually pretty good. And even if you yourself as a character, your character doesn't necessarily have that focus, identifying somebody in your crew who does and bringing them onto the project is more than likely a good idea. The project will have a number of successes required to succeed, which I also keep to myself. So the idea here is that you choose an avenue of investigation, you pursue it either to the very, very end, or at any point later on you can decide maybe we want to try a different avenue and see what we get there as well, and see if the results turn up any better. So is that clear enough, or do you need me to go over that again?
No, I've pretty much got that.
So essentially what I'm going to ask you to do, and this can be open to the group to suggest, is for you to name between 3 and 5 different avenues of investigation for your AI cybernetic link-up thing.
Well, you've already said 3 of them, perfectly honest.
Cybernetics, AI, computer programming, yep.
Programming.
That, or think of new ones? Other ones?
I do want a couple. I do want to probably get the 5, as I think this is a very complicated task. I definitely think there should be something medical in there.
If folks would like to suggest something? Or have we pretty much hit on the ones that... Cybernetics can and does involve medical staff because of, obvious reasons. You're replacing somebody's body part with machinery, which by its very nature becomes a very medical procedure.
Yeah. Honestly, I kind of actually am stumped. It is just pretty much free. It is.
That's fine. If you think that's all the ones you can think of and can come up with, and if nobody else has got any other suggestions that they think settle the right with the in the right ballparks.
I mean, with the focuses I've got, I do have computers, but
You do.
I have experimental technology as well,
You do.
which is going to help.
So, if no one else has got anything else that they can think of, then are you happy with that list of 3 avenues of investigation? Cybernetics, AI programming, and computer programming.
Yes.
Alright. Would you like to then suggest which avenue you're going to be pursuing first? I mean, you can start pursuing the obvious one to me, which would be cybernetics, or you could go with something that you've got an actual focus in, which would be computer programming.
I was going to go computer programming because Mark's not here, so we'll go down that avenue first.
Okie dokie. So, we've identified computer programming. So, essentially, in one of the many labs and stuff, Tavish has now allocated an area for herself and whoever helps work on this to actually work in. So, one of these labs will have your equipment and your notes and all of that. A little area to one side. The Intrepids are usually pretty good for their scientific laboratories and whatnot, but it is primarily an exploration craft rather than a science ship. So, but you can always make do with what you've got. This is a top-of-the-line ship currently, so your tech is also available is also top of the line. So, is there anybody that Tavish wants to bring in to help? I know we said Phlesc is aiding.
Probably. I was going to say, probably at the moment, it's just going to be Phlesc. I think when the cybernetic comes,
it's going to end up being Sot, yes.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go to Sot and, ask really nicely. So,
Dr. Sot, you know we're friends, right?
Yeah, that's going to be it.
Bowley and brandy, yeah. Dr. Sot?
Actually,
yeah.
With the computer stuff, I think Neshlel would be probably a good idea.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask Connie if she would like to
assist. Yes.
Assist in this.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Connie.
I'm almost envisioning this as, forgive me for putting my own spin on this, but the way Connie said, yeah, it was almost like, yeah, I want to see this disaster happen at ringside.
Over here.
Agent of Chaos.
Lily will give basically ask Neshlel, ask her to join in and say that she will go and play
Dabo?
The Dabu with her at some point.
Oh, you fool!
And I'll be running a pool with the other people to see the chances of success.
Okay, who had 5 weeks before it blew up?
Should I start making a new character now?
Well, you're dealing with, at the moment, just with computer programming, so the possibilities of you being able to blow yourself up or the ship are minimal. I won't say they're entirely out of the range of possibility. I mean, if you end up rolling a double 20 again, it'll be something catastrophic, but we haven't seen that in some time, so with any luck, touch wood.
We saw it last week.
Yeah, the same. We saw it last week.
Oh hell, we did, didn't we?
Yeah.
Like a spectre come back to haunt you. Yes, okay.
I
think you forgot about me, didn't you?
Oh god, I said it now.
Yes, you did. Okay, so we're getting Neshlel and Phlesc to aid Tavish in this. There's no I don't use a difficulty, it's just the number of successes you accrue. And if they get past the threshold of when I consider it that you've got enough successes racked up that you've come to the end of a particular avenue of investigation, that's when you get the results of it.
Okay.
So for now, it's just about accruing successes. Neshlel doesn't have computer programming as a focus. I mean, there's always the fallback of statistical probability, which is really hard to say in a rush. But she does have did the reading. But you don't have momentum to spend, is the problem there. So yeah, statistical probability would be the only one, really. I mean, it makes sense. You are, at this point in the early days of a project, you're running numbers and running simulations, so that's where that's going to go. Can I get a Chris, then, to be Lieutenant Phlesc?
Sure.
So I'll just put him back over here in the line. Phlesc also does not have anything to do with computer programming, although does have a focus for manufacturing, so he could take the avenue of what materials are going to be needed to fashion this kind of thing. So Neshlel will be running the numbers, Tavish will be creating the computer simulation, as well as trying to write the initial code base for it, whereas Phlesc will be investigating the sides of what materials are needed. So, with that, this is going to be reason and science for Tavish, and it's going to be reason and science for all three.
Am I using focus as Phlesc because you said manufacturing and metallurgy?
I said manufacturing, so that suggests a focus.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, please.
And 1 dice, right? Because I'm just
one dice because you're aiding. Yes, pleasey, please. So that's good. Phlesc doing well at the moment. Good. And 2 successes from Neshlel. These numbers are looking pretty promising.
Oh no.
See, I said
Okay.
it.
A 1 and a 20. Wow.
Wow.
Both
So,
extremes.
Legion of Honor.
all right. So you've used your once per mission. So you cannot use the Legion of Honor again.
No, I'm okay with this.
Wait, since Phlesc helped, wouldn't he be able to use his parental figure?
Good point.
Yes.
Well remembered.
Yes. Oh.
Parent figure.
Yes.
Phlesc comes over. Go on, Dave.
Yeah, we'll use
that's handy.
parent figures of the Legion of Honor.
Okay, so Neshlel is running the numbers and is calculating the probabilities of how likely this is to blow up in your face. For some reason, she's not telling Tavish exactly what the chances are at the moment. Giggles, maybe, I don't know. Phlesc, however, is looking into the different types of metals and alloys that you can use that are going to cause the least amount of peril to being inserted into your actual head. And as he's coming over with this list of minerals and materials that he's investigated, he kind of looks over Tavish's shoulder as she's busily, furiously inputting all this code. At which point, Phlesc just leans over and goes, Tavish, are you sure you want that line there? At which point Tavish realizes, oh yeah, whoops, that was an error that could have gone badly wrong. And so that line of code is erased and will be have to be re-entered and reconsidered later. However, that was a lot of successes. That was 5 successes. So far, so good. Okay, so computer simulations show that obviously this is possible. We know it's possible. Starfleet and Starfleet Medical have been replacing lost limbs and organs with cybernetic replacements for, over a century or whatever now. So they've gotten reasonably good at it. But there's always issues with mixing flesh and machine. But yeah. Cybernetics is a well-researched avenue at the moment, so getting the right amount of minerals and materials, metals and whatever that you need to create this kind of thing is not difficult. Creating the AI code, on the other hand, is a lot more work, but since technically the ship's main computer is technically an AI itself, you build upon what's already there, so it is known how to program AI and stuff like that. So, looking good so far. There was that one little code error that you just introduced there, which is going to have to be looked at again later, but for now, not bad. Not bad at all. Things are looking possible. A lot of potential here. Because what you're essentially trying to do is to compact a main computer and put it into a very small chip that you can then attach to somebody's head. So, miniaturization of this kind of thing is never easy, so the code you write has to be very compact, specialized. But there we go. So far, so good. So interesting. Does anybody else have any personal science projects they want to conduct on the side in between episodes?
I mean, it's not a science project, but it's, to get buddy-buddy with the Klingon crew.
Well, the buddy-buddy with the Klingons, that was right. Yes, you did want to actually get to know Captain Akul and the crew of the Mapui, which is very easy to do. And this will happen for anybody of you lot actually who take the time to meet the only other Klingon starship crew on board the station, on Narendra Station, is that when you first meet Captain Akul, he's a very typical Klingon. He's big, he's this massive presence that's very intimidating. And when he asks to sit down at your table, he does so very authoritatively and leans over just to look like he's really laying on the presence thickly. But what strikes you as immediately counter-Klingon with Akul is that he confesses that he's doing this just so that the rest of his crew don't think that he's being less of a Klingon for it. And then, in a very loud and exaggerated voice, he demands to know the type of missions that you've been on recently, specifically when it comes to stellar phenomena. And the more you talk with Captain Akul, the more you realize he's still a Klingon, he's still a warrior, but he's very much a scientist. So, when he hears that you guys are the crew of the Combs, he gets almost, I'm not going to say giddy, but there's a definite fanboy moment that Akul has where he suddenly realizes that you're one of the first ships to do neural gel pack computer processing, at which point he would very much like to come on the ship one day and actually have a look at these neural gel packs in action because they're fascinating. So Captain Akul very quickly comes across as an atypical Klingon. He's got all the physical characteristics of a Klingon, but when you start to actually talk with him, he's very much a science nerd. So there you go. The rest of his crew are pretty much Klingons like you'd expect, but they all do hold a very high respect for Captain Akul. And it turns out that Akul himself is actually very buddy-buddy with Chancellor Gowron. And as such, when Narendra Station was proposed as a joint Federation Klingon endeavor, Akul volunteered to have he and his crew be stationed here, and so he used his political affiliation with Gowron to get himself and his crew posted here. So, yeah, he's very interested in exploring the Shackleton Expanse and all the wonders and things that haven't been discovered before. So there you go. That's Captain Akul.
Oh yeah, wasn't it his first or second officer that Hopkins kind of defeated within the first episode that she was here?
Ooh, I think that was... Give me a second. That would be the Narendra Station crew, the Mapui crew. I think you didn't go up against his first officer. What you went up against was his tactical officer. And this guy,
senior crew members.
yeah, the tactical officer. So this guy was he's very, very Klingon, but he doesn't hold any grudge against being beaten by Hopkins. You know, like any Klingon, he considers the matter closed. You know, he challenged you. You stood up for yourself like a Klingon should. He beat you around a bit. You beat him around a lot more. That was fair dues. That's how they do it on Kronos, you know. So, you know, that's it. Case closed. Respect.
You got a lot more respect among them because of that. But yeah, I'm totally not going to abuse that relationship between the captain and the chancellor.
Well, speaking of, I'm going to take you all now on a little ride to the head office, the co-head offices of Narendra Station, whilst you are still docked. Let me just change the ambience over. So, to put this into perspective, first things first, I am going to let you know that this episode takes place a goodly long while after the last episode. So, a good 6 months. Over 6 months have passed since the whole deal with the Takarans and the Romulans. And as such, you've been doing little jobs here and there, going out into the expanse, exploring, coming back, bringing back your sensor readings and whatnot, especially because the Combs is an intrepid class and therefore it is very well suited to these little scouting missions back and forth out of the expanse. As such, the crew is getting the crew and the ship are getting more and more used to going out into the expanse, meeting all the various gravitational anomalies that they have that bump the ship about as if you were on a roller coaster. So you're starting to get the hang of exploration into the expanse as a whole. So the rides are becoming distinctly less choppy and less demanding on the ship as you get used to venturing out there. Like I said, 6 months, 1 week, 5 days have passed since everything that happened with the prototype quantum torpedo. This is now stardate 58978.3, and this is actually a week after the DS9 episode where Odo has killed a changeling. And one of the last words the changeling said to Odo apparently was, "We are everywhere." So, as such, everyone has noticed that security has been ramping up pretty much everywhere. Within 6 months, you will have had time to have had a bit of leave, maybe transferred out briefly to see relatives out elsewhere in Federation space. Or in Hopkins' case, maybe go back and visit the house relatives on Kronos. But even so, word has now spread of what happened on board the Defiant when it was attacked by a shapeshifter, and that even though the shapeshifter was killed by another one, apparently we are everywhere. So on Narendra Station now, there are a lot more security checkpoints that have to be endured, and those of the medical profession are now starting to find themselves being tasked with trying to come up with means of discovering shapeshifters amongst you. So there's a bigger level of paranoia that's now starting to permeate everything. Occasionally you will catch people giving yourselves or each other glances of, you know, are they who they really appear to be? So the atmosphere on board Narendra Station has now started to change in ways that you're not sure you like. However, nonetheless, with all this extra security on, you are, as the senior members of the Combs crew, asked to attend the offices of the two co-heads of the station, which would be Admiral Hebert, who you guys, being Starfleet officers, directly report to, and her Klingon counterpart, General Kargan. This is the offices. This is the reception area, actually, of the offices. So here you have Lieutenant Trasa, who's the Andorian aide to Admiral Hebert, and Roba, who is the aide to General Kargan. This is where they're stationed. The offices of the admirals and the admiral and the general themselves are up here, so this is just the waiting area. But you are now at the very tip top of Narendra Station. You just like the whooshy door sounds, don't you, Liz? You actually remind me of a... it reminds me in no small way of one of my other playgroups who play Pathfinder, and our rogue, or our ninja, hasn't met a door she doesn't like to open. Even and especially when there's something behind it that the rest of the party hoped that she wouldn't reveal, but there you go. Anyway, you are all summoned to the Admiral's office, and you find that General Kargan and Admiral April Hebert are there waiting for you. And as soon as you get there, Admiral Hebert indicates over to her counterpart, General Kargan, who has a datapad in his hand.
It has been some months now since we had your report regarding the incident with the Takarans, and of course with the House of Duras and the Romulans. I would ask Commander Trasa Hopkins to step forward. Commander, even though technically you are a Starfleet officer, Chancellor Gowron has noticed your performance against the hated Duras, and has elected to offer both yourself, in recognition of the efforts of yourself and your crew, and also of recognition of the continuing efforts that we undertake here on Narendra Station together, to award you with a new ship. At which point he activates. He presses a button on the pad which activates a holo emitter. Behold the Guicha. She is a Katoch class scout ship. She is an older ship and has been through many battles and many missions. She has recently undergone her latest refit and is now fit for duty. Chancellor Gowron wishes to award stewardship of this scout vessel to the crew of the USS Combs for their efforts against the House of Duras and the enemies of the Empire.
Admiral Hebert speaks up at this point. The Guicha is currently being loaded onto the Combs' shuttle bay as we speak. We've had to, unfortunately, since you only have so much room on your ship, make room for it by getting rid of your Type 9 shuttlecraft. However, this is a fine example of why we are doing what we're doing here on Narendra Station. We are doing everything we can to work cooperatively, both Starfleet and Klingons, and as such, you now are one of the best representatives of this continuing cooperation between both polities. So, the Guicha is now yours. Congratulations, Captain, Commander, and the rest of you. The hologram is switched off.
May she bring you glory in your continuing efforts. Admiral?
General Kargan makes a nod, and then nods to the rest of you before he goes back towards his offices. Admiral Hebert waits until General Kargan has gone back into his office before bringing out her own datapad and handing it over to Captain Sobek. And this is where you may actually get to use it for the first time. New orders. Sadly, all of this business with the shapeshifters has gotten a lot of folks in Starfleet a little paranoid, but nevertheless... Yes, Elizabeth, I thought you'd be happy. Reward well earned. Nevertheless, we have a report that a pair of Starfleet officers actually stole a shuttlecraft and have been tracked going into the Expanse. We have their last known position according to long-range sensors, and we would very much like the Combs to track them and apprehend them. These two Starfleet officers unfortunately managed to kill personnel on their way out from stealing the shuttlecraft. They might very well be shapeshifters looking to steal some of our technology. Why they're fleeing into the Expanse, we don't know, but Starfleet's orders are clear. Being our best and most able scout ship, the Combs is to proceed into the Shackleton Expanse in pursuit of these two potentially rogue Starfleet agents, potentially shapeshifters. Any questions? The questions do go out to all of you, so feel free to ask. Very well.
What measures are available to us? Oh, sorry.
No, go on.
What measures are available to us at the moment to detect any kind of changelings?
At the moment, to our best knowledge,
Do we have anything?
it seems that blood screening might be the best method that's been bandied about so far. Besides phasering somebody to see if they turn into goop. Was somebody
The
about to say
Federation and the Klingon response. Yeah.
Can I just ask, is goop the technical term for this?
It's my term for it, Lieutenant, but I think I'll be looking to enter it into the official lingua, yeah.
Lovely.
These are, after all, goop people who are pretty much living goop that have the appearance of whatever they want to take on, so goop. Obviously, we don't know the full extent as to what this might be about, but for the moment, it's just two rogue Starfleet officers in a shuttlecraft, so sending along a full fleet after it is probably not warranted at this point, and since it's now within our jurisdiction, we get the job of bringing them in. Captain Sobek, take the crew and the Combs and pursue this rogue vessel and its itinerant potential shapeshifters. Use whatever means you deem necessary and for the safety of your crew to apprehend them. Bring them back if you can, or at the very least find out what they were up to. If there are no further questions, then I wish you and your crew good hunting. Be careful out there. Dismissed. So, yeah, Admiral Hebert proceeds back to her own office, and I'm just going to jump her back in there. So, is there anything you would like to do on the registration before you depart?
I think I'm okay.
Alrighty.
Go on.
Dave, you first, so...
No, it's alright. Let Elizabeth go first.
Liz, you second.
So I know that scout ship is a scale 2 ship. What kind? What?
Basically, go on, sorry.
What's the mission profile for it?
It is a crisis response and interception vessel.
Okay.
The full stats of it are here on the landing page now, actually, if I just take you over to it. You will find it
I was
when you
looking at
eventually load in. So essentially, I've got the name wrong there. So, a Scale 2 vessel is about the same size as a shuttlecraft. So it's basically replacing one of your shuttlecraft with another. I elected to replace the Type 9 shuttlecraft because even though that's got the sleeker design, it doesn't have as much capacity to carry people as the Type 6. And since you are now getting a Klingon scout ship, that would pretty much replace the sleeker shuttlecraft anyway, so... Main difference being
I'm
that
not
the
able-
Klingon has got disruptor cannons on it.
I can't activate it, or I can't look at it.
Okay. Let me just fix that. The GUI char, ownership... Oh yes, indeed, you don't. Let me change that. Bob. You should have it now. Are you a happy camper now?
Yes, I know exactly what I'm gonna change one of the talents as soon as I can.
Rugged design and improved impulse drive. Well, that's what it comes with as default. It's an
Okay,
interceptor, so the impulse drive was the thing. Rugged design comes with the Katoch class interceptor, so...
The rugged
Sorry.
design's about to, as soon as it can, it's gonna get changed with the cloaking technology.
Yeah, rugged design just means that
Awesome.
it is because it's got a durable and easy accessible construction. Difficulty of all repair tasks are lowered by 1.
Oh, I might keep that then.
The improved impulse drive is actually for whenever the ship does attack pattern or evasive maneuvers or even ramming speed. You can spend momentum to lower the difficulty of trying to, or increase the difficulty of someone managing to hit it, because it's that much quicker.
Hopkins is now gonna tell a certain member of the crew that it can ram.
Would that be Tavish by chance?
She will not say.
You don't want to scratch on your new baby bird, I take it.
If possible.
Nevertheless,
Like she
yes.
just goes straight to the Hager Bay.
That's fine. So essentially, sorry, go on, Dave.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah. With what you're gonna see from Tavish, I think I'm gonna bring this in. As everybody is going onto the ship, whoever is with Tavish, which should probably be the rest of our players, she gets stopped by a woman. Tavish just goes, Francesca. You've never seen her be this polite to someone ever, by the way.
And bearing in mind, I've just said about changeling infiltrators.
Yeah. And then, from behind Francesca, a little girl, round about 7 years old, comes out. And she goes, and Lily just goes to one knee and just goes, Aurora! And this 7-year-old girl comes up, gives Lily a hug, and goes, Mummy!
Yes, it's true. Tavish procreated. There's more than one of her.
Too bad Hopkins is busy messing with the new ship. Notice.
She is. This is the nicest you've ever seen Tavish to anyone. She's very playful. She's very upbeat. She is very definitely not her normal self when she's on the ship. Gives, they just have a little talk. Well, she has a little talk with Aurora, and then, gives her a kiss, bye-bye, and then waves to Francesca, and then goes on to the ship.
Garrow probably leans into Dr. Sott and goes, "Get the blood screening ready." I'll get her from behind, you get her in the neck.
Am I getting blood screening?
Garrow,
Well,
please find a way to load that hyperspray.
Technically, everyone will now have to go through blood screening when they report for duty on board the ship, so Dr. Sott has to go through the long and arduous process of having he and his medical team blood screen everybody, just to prove that they're not changelings. So it's a simple process. You just stick an injector up to somebody, draw a small amount of blood inside the vial, give the blood a little shake, see if it turns into, well, goop, as Admiral Hebert put it. And if it stays as blood, then it looks like they're not a changeling. That's as scientific as it gets at the moment. So embarkation, the process of embarkation does take a long time as a result, and this has been the de rigueur, as they say at this point. It's become, what's the word I'm looking for? Routine by this point, but it doesn't make it any the less tedious because it adds that much more time to embarkation times. Nevertheless, Hopkins would try to find someone to take. I'm all the way up here. Right. Deck 1, to the bridge. Let's change it to the bridge ambience. So, back on board the Combs. We are getting everybody ready for departure. Everybody is to their stations, everybody has been through the process of blood screening, and so with the last known heading of the shuttlecraft that you are to pursue, you are ready to disembark. So just to make it clear, your mission directives you can find on the ship itself. Find and apprehend the officers who stole the shuttle and retrieve the stolen vessel. But a last-minute secondary order has come in, apparently not from Admiral April Hebert, but has been put in as an addendum to your orders by the head of the civilian science team on board Narendra Station, a Dr. Taliaferro. Dr. Taliaferro is the lady who, from what you've heard, is more directly responsible for this whole endeavor of exploring the Shackleton Expanse than any other. She was the one who bent the Admiralty's ear about getting Starfleet vessels assigned to explore the Shackleton Expanse. So Dr. Taliaferro herself, for a civilian, apparently has a lot of pull in all the right places. So she has managed to slap on an addendum to your main orders, which search for and study the strange radio signals that appear to be emanating from the Bacchus system. And as it happens, the Bacchus system seems to be the general direction that the stolen shuttlecraft was headed towards. So, the fact that Dr. Taliaferro was able to actually add on to Starfleet orders should tell you how much sway she actually has. None of you have actually met Dr. Taliaferro yet, so officially, I don't think. So anyway, yes, there you go. A bit of interesting information. So, with everybody all geared up and ready, any final preparations you want to make?
Lily's just gone and argue. See, I told you I wasn't a changeling. I don't know what you're going on about.
We have to go through
Hopkins,
security
who
procedures.
Go
on, sorry.
Who didn't witness is like, huh? What are you guys talking about? I was busy messing with the new ship.
None of your business. Stay out of it.
I like how you went with my our new ship. At which point,
Yes, let's get going.
helm heading has been put in. The Combs pulls out of dock. It's Neshlel's power up, and off you go. Now, like I've already noted, journey through the Expanse itself has become a bit more routine now, so you know exactly what to expect, so I won't be asking for any piloting roles or whatnot in order to overcome the initial bumpy entry into the Expanse. So, So the captain puts in his captain's log. We will arrive at the Bacchus system within the hour. Starfleet Command has ordered us there for 2 reasons. First, we are to track down 2 Starfleet officers who stole the shuttle, and were last detected heading in this direction. No one is sure why they did it, but 2 people were killed, and so they must answer for their crimes. Next, and finally, strange indecipherable signals have been emanating from the Bacchus system for the past several weeks. The Combs is to search for the source of these signals and try to determine their meaning, if any. And so, it takes a couple of hours in order to reach the system, but the ion trail left behind by the shuttlecraft and its passage through the Expanse certainly seems to be pointing in the direction of the Bacchus system, and it's not long before your helm officer, Lieutenant Commander Lian Zhang, reports that they are coming up on the Bacchus system. Very well, Commander. Bring us out of warp. And it's as the ship comes out of warp that I'm going to ask you to do the Star Trek shake for me, please. As the ship does a violent lurch. As red alert klaxons sound, and then there is, well, the one thing that you were hoping would not happen. As all of a sudden, the main power shuts off.
Wow.
The ship is shuddering and jerking. As you drop out of warp, the ship lurches and comes to a sudden stop. Several crew members tumble to the deck. On the main viewer, you see one of the planets of the Bacchus system. Some sort of orange-coloured beam from the planet's surface has enveloped your ship. Turn that down a bit. The lights flicker and consoles go dark. Whatever the beam is, it appears to be interfering with the ship's power, controls, and other systems. Just before the main viewer goes blank, you see through the orange haze the surface of the planet. It is a little larger than the size of Earth, yet on the surface you can clearly see structures. Long lines that must cover thousands of miles connecting geometrical shapes the size of large cities, as well as other indications of artificial construction.
Is it a probe or a tractor beam?
You don't know, because
Or
for
a
the
scan,
moment,
I should say. A scan or a
power has
tractor
gone
beam?
off. And that's when you start feeling a very... what's the word I'm looking for here? You get the very unsettling feeling that you can feel, even though you've got the gravity plating holding you down, with main power offline, the inertial dampeners are not operating, and as such, everyone can feel the ship kind of tilting and start to judder. It's entirely possible that the ship is caught in the gravitational wake of the planet that you saw looming up ahead of you, and if your engines are out, then you're being pulled into a planet out of your control.
Alright, time to get power back then.
Yes, indeed. First things first, we need to make sure that the crew works together and doesn't panic. So first thing we're going to ask is that either from the first officer or from the captain or from both, we're going to need a presence and command check in order to get people to focus on their task and not start worrying about, oh the heck, we're about to crash into a planet. So, does Hopkins want to take this, or does Hopkins want help from the captain?
She could always use help from the captain.
Cool beans.
He's not done much. He just sort of sits there.
Exactly. So, Chris, can I get you to be Captain Sobek then, please?
By all means.
Who will be doing a presence and command check with
Persuasion?
Persuasion, yeah.
Oh, inspiration as well.
Even
Inspiration.
better.
Oh, I do have inspiration too.
Yep, there you go. So, inspire everyone to get back on board. So, presence and command. That was 2 from the captain, so if I can get 1 from Hopkins. Just realised that my momentum and threat indicators aren't on again. So I need to reload. Give me a moment. 1 success. 4 successes overall. That was 3 over and above what you needed. So you go from nothing to half a momentum pool already. Nice. Alright, so both Hopkins and the captain managed to quell the panic and remind everybody that they are Starfleet officers and some of the best. So this will help tasks from here on in. The next problem we have is, well, we're going to go down to the main engineering. First thing I'm going to ask is, when you're loaded in, can everybody see the map okay?
Nope.
Yeah.
No? Connie, can you see the map?
Yeah, I can see.
You can see it? Okay, cool. I thought I heard a no. Right, so we are down in engineering at the moment, and yes, systems are out. So, the first thing I'm going to need is a reason and engineering check from Tavish, please, to try and get to the bottom of what's happened.
A reason and engineering, yes.
Please.
I am performing a task, am I not?
You are
this?
indeed. So you're
I
not
am
using the
trying to-
challenge, you're using the task.
So I am trying to determine the source of a technical problem.
Yes, indeed, which means I know my ship talent comes into effect.
Add 1 bonus d20.
So you get to roll 3.
Okay, and I am using the focus of power systems.
Yep. Alright, got an 18, which was close, but you got 3 successes overall, which means you got 2 over and above what you needed, so more goes in the momentum pool. So, you managed to find the emergency power batteries and kick them into life, which means that where are we? Engineering is on deck 11 with a whoop kind of sound. The main power comes back online. Let me throw the lighting back on as well.
Tavish is then going to run to the thingy.
Warp core?
Who's moving Tavish? Yeah. So who's moving Tavish there?
Tavish a second, and let me reorientate you so that you're the right way up. There we go.
The artificial gravity's gone, Captain.
I don't know who did that though.
Because everybody has access in order to be able to see,
Okay.
somebody could have accidentally. And you are automatically given selection over any and all characters that are under your control when you load onto a map, so...
Okay. Gonna check the warp core, make sure it's stable.
Warp core appears stable, but the main power isn't getting to the systems for whatever reason. So you've got the lighting on, and you've got emergency power going through, so there's still artificial gravity and that kind of stuff.
Alright, it's time to actually find the reason then.
Well, meanwhile, I'm going to take us back to Deck 1 because of more pressing importance, rather I should say, is the fact that the ship is now descending into the orbit of the nearby planet. And the ship's hull is also starting to show signs of stress as you can hear the superstructure is groaning, and you can occasionally hear something pop or explode as pressures are being put on the ship. So what we're going to need to do next is the ship is going to need to be moved into a stable orbit. So this is going to require our helm officer, which is an NPC and therefore is not under the control of any folks. So let me see. Connie, do you fancy being Lian Zhang for a moment?
Yeah, go on.
Thank you all. This will be a control and con task with a difficulty of 2. She can use her focus of propulsion systems. This is going to be using thrusters only. Impulse and warp engines are currently inoperative.
Oh, con.
2 very good rolls there. 3 successes, 1 over and above what you needed. The ship judders quite heavily from the fact that the thrusters are now fighting the pull of the planet's gravity. And it takes a bit of work, but Lieutenant Commander Zhang does actually manage to put the combs into a more stable orbit. And to do as such. Just bring you guys quickly here. This is the situation you find yourselves in. Hopefully you can see this. Tell me if you can't.
I cannot.
You cannot. Alright, let's give... That's because the ship doesn't have vision.
No. Oh,
Pop.
there we are.
Okay.
So, the planet is vast. As you can see, this is not a representation of the combs' true size, but this is currently caught in some kind of beam and, for now, holding position in the upper atmosphere. Or not the upper atmosphere, but at least in orbit of the planet. Back to the bridge. Planet looks like Mars. Well, it may be that I got the image for the planet from a screenshot of Mars. You never know. Alrighty do. Dave, you said Tavish is going to try and find out the nature of the power drain?
Yes.
You're more than likely going to need your chief science officer on this.
Well,
And-
actually,
Anybody else who wants to assist with it, basically.
I've got a pretty good science score.
Cool. So analyzing the nature and the effects of what's happening at the moment will require a reason and science task. This will be difficulty 2.
I did it.
Oh dear.
how dare you? Okay, let me check before I do anything.
Oh, let me think. What can I do with one of those? Okay.
Okay, can I use my Starfleet citation
Uh-huh.
for conspicuous gallantry to roll? See if I can either get more threat or nullify it.
Once permission, when the character pays for an immediate momentum spend of any kind by adding to threat, they roll a challenge dice. They roll a challenge dice, put point of threat added. That point of threat is removed instantly. Do you need to do that? I'm not sure you do. Because I'm asking you to perform a task anyway. This is the Conspicuous Gallantry Award is useful for when you want to perform like extra actions in combat.
Okay.
Or any other time-sensitive thing where you want to do more than one task within your turn. So that's what that's useful for.
So we'll have to live with the complication.
Yes! Yes, indeed.
Damn it!
Let's see. So it looks like Neshlel's leading on this one. One success. Was anybody else assisting this, or was it just... oh, Tavish was looking into trying to help with this too.
Yes.
So this is going to be reason and science. Power systems, warp field dynamics, either of those would work.
Nearly got it too.
Alright, so, with that in mind, you guys reckon that you're caught in some kind of tractor beam, which explains why your ship was being held and then pulled towards the planet. Possibly some kind of weapon or an automated docking beam, maybe, you're not sure. But one thing's for certain, for one reason or another, this beam, whatever it is interfering with your ship's system, so needing to get out of it will possibly help with trying to restore power. So, what would you like to do in response? I mean, essentially, if this is a tractor beam of some sort, then it's emitting a graviton beam. So, if you have some way of emitting anti-gravitons or a dissonance wave of gravitons at the matching frequency or opposing frequency. Yep. Go on, Dave.
Can we try and interfere with the tractor beam at all?
That's what I was suggesting, yes.
Yes. So, I mean, we haven't got power, have we really?
You've got backup power at the moment, which is a good point. At the moment, maintaining orbit took power. So that's 1 point of power off the main grid. So you do have some power to play with.
I do have a question.
Of course.
So the other ship that we have that's in our docking bay, that should still have power, right? Since it has its own power system.
Yes, the shuttles and scout ship do have their own internal power systems, yes.
We could always use the sensors there to figure out for any weaknesses.
You could try, certainly, yes. If that's what you want to do, then Captain Sobek will be all for you making your way down to the shuttle bay.
Yeah. I'll do that since.
Okay, the first thing you realize is that the turbo lifts are offline. There's no power for them. So you're going to have to run.
Jeffrey Tube's time.
Yes, indeed. Can I get a fitness and security check from Hopkins, please, to see how fast she can get down there?
Witness security. Oh.
Meanwhile, the ship continues to shudder and shake.
Oh, I don't think any of my values would work.
I don't think any of your focuses come into it either, so... Okay. It takes you longer than you would have wanted because you have to prise open some doors and panels. And one time the ship shakes whilst Hopkins is busy scaling a ladder to go further down, and she slips and misses, manages to grip hold of it before she goes too far, but she overshoots by a deck and has to climb back up to get to the shuttle bay. Meanwhile,
And any crew members that are near the Jeffries choose just hearing first words in Klingon.
the air suddenly turns a very deep shade of blue somewhere down around deck. Where is the shuttle bay? Answers on a postcard, please. Main shuttle bay is deck 10. So, yeah, you almost ended up down in main engineering. On deck 11. So, yes. The guys on deck 11 are used to hearing Tavish swear an awful lot, so they don't think much of it. Although they do question the use of a different language. That's the first time I've heard the chief curse in Klingon. Wait, if the chief is over there, then who's in the Jeffries tube? Anyway. Meanwhile, back on the bridge, sensors will be great and all, but in order to try and formulate a way of breaking a tractor beam, you've essentially got a beam of gravitons. If you want to, the most logical course of action would be to create an anti-graviton beam. The only thing that would do that usually is the main deflector. The main deflector is, of course, at the moment offline, so power would have to be rerouted to the main deflector in order to get it to do what you wanted, and it would have to be reconfigured to do what you wanted. So, whilst Hopkins is busy scaling all the way down to deck 10, Tavish and/or Gerkow, with help from either Sot or from Chris being Phlesc, could start to get things rolling as far as the deflector goes. Unless you have any other ideas. I'm gonna go with a no then. So, Tavish, Gerkow, Phlesc, or does Sot want in on this?
I'll go for Flex, considering Sot's last roll.
I wasn't going to suggest that might be my reason for saying that Phlesc should get involved, but so, yeah, so... Gerkow could probably reprogram the main deflector, whereas Tavish is going to be the one who is more than likely going to physically redo the main deflector, so... For Tavish, this is going to be daring and engineering. For Gerkow, this is going to be reason and science. And the same goes for Phlesc.
Reason, science.
Phlesc has deflector shield force field technology as a focus, so he could definitely use that.
Cool.
Gerkow, as per usual, can probably use a statistical probability in order to calculate the best, most effective dissonance or anti-graviton frequency to use. Doing well so far.
We did it.
Yeah, looks like it's all going to be on Tavish.
Daring and engineering, focus in...
Ooh. Field dynamics could probably apply, I think.
Okay.
Because warp fields are usually about redoing gravity-related shenanigans. In a way. In a kind of a loose way. 3 successes. Okay, Tavish brings it back. So, Phlesc and Gerkow do the computer-related alterations needed, but thankfully they are few. Tavish, however, has to walk to the main deflector, which was on... should be the same kind of deck area. Let me just check. Engineering is way down that a ways, isn't it? So, main computer core, reserve warp engine, main navigational deflector is indeed on deck 10, so Tavish doesn't have that far to go, and may actually meet Hopkins on the way there. But Tavish does indeed pull a recalibration of the main deflector, so the deflector is ready to emit the anti-graviton pulse. Were we waiting for anybody else? Oh yeah, Hopkins. So then, where has our intrepid first officer gone? All the way up that a ways. Right, so you're going to do some jiggery and or pokery with sensors on board one of the smaller ships, because the main one is not available. So, let's go to our brand new ship. Liz, do you know where to find it if you go through the folders? Oh boy, do you, yes. So I'm going to need Hopkins to give me a control and science check to operate the sensors on board the Guicha. Which sadly means that you've got no focuses to draw upon. But you get help from the ship.
I was hoping linguistics, since it's Klingon and following Klingon language.
You're activating sensors, so this is less about linguistics and that kind of stuff, and more about just plain old use of the thing. Not bad, 2 successes, and if you can also jump onto the Guicha and give me sensors and science, all of 1 dice from the scout ship, if you know where to find it. Ooh, a 2, excellent. Right. So, when the Guicha is brought online and its sensors kick into operation, Hopkins gets notice from the ship, from the scout ship, that yes, the main deflector of the Coombs has been brought online and has been apparently physically reconfigured in order to emit an anti-graviton pulse to try and break the grip that this beam has on your ship. Looking at the sensor readings now coming from what you've just got from the Guicha, you realize that the initial what's the word I'm looking for? Supposition that you came to that the beam was a tractor beam might not be entirely accurate. In fact, Hopkins is fairly certain that if this anti-graviton beam is activated, it could have some catastrophic backlash.
I hope to.
So
hope
it's
communications is working.
It kind of is and kind of isn't. You're probably going to have to draw power from the Guicha's own systems to project a communication signal, which will cost the Guicha some power.
Sadly, yeah, she's gonna have to do that, and she will relay that to the group.
So just before Tavish and Gerkow and Phlesc activate the anti-graviton beam, you do get a comm badge chirp come through, letting you know that somebody is trying to get a message through. And that's when Hopkins is able to give the bridge crew warning that what they're proposing to do with the deflector might not be the best idea after all. It turns out that the beam coming from the planet is both a scanner and some kind of disabling mechanism. So rather than...
Tavish.
Go on, sorry.
Yeah, Tavish will start.
So you had... Your initial sensor scans had only half the story, which is why you made the incorrect assumption. Now, with more of the story, you realize that an anti-graviton beam might not be the best idea, but a signal sent on a certain frequency back down the beam emanating from the planet might mitigate the more harmful effects of the beam. So, like I said, you were halfway there, but now thanks to Hopkins using the scout ship as a backup, you've got the whole story now. And that, ladies and gents, is what happens when you get a complication. And not enough successes as well. So, in order to try and get this beam, you're going to be needing to create a signal using control and science with a difficulty of 1. So whoever wants to get in on this can do so. This is open for anybody to give it a go.
I can help Neshlel.
I got 8 control. Maybe Phlesc should do the be the lead if they've got 9 control.
Okay, 9 control and 4 science. Yep.
I've got 12 control and 4
4 science. So Tavish goes right to the top of the pile.
you don't want Hopkins to help. She only has 2 and 8.
Yep. So there we go. Let's let the guys who might very well know what they're doing. So Chris, if you could be Phlesc again.
Sure.
Gerkow and Phlesc both roll 1 dice. Tavish can roll 2. So this is going to be control and science difficulty of 1. What focuses apply are a bit difficult to determine. Anybody that's got anything to do with power systems or warp field or any of the out of the way stuff that can be bent to pretty much anything, like Neshlel's what is it again? Statistical probability.
Yeah, Phlesc has electroplasma power systems, but then also warp field dynamics.
Probably warp field dynamics would work a little better, I think.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm just not going to roll today. I'm not going to roll anymore.
Well, he didn't roll a 20, and a second 19. He didn't roll a 20, so that was good, because I didn't up the complication range. So there you are. That's something. You were inches away, but not quite there. Mm-hmm. Connie, if we can get a better roll from Neshlel, hopefully.
Let's get some momentum.
Well, you've got a full... Oh, nuts! I've lost my momentum and threat pools again. Got to reload. So once again, it's all on Tavish.
It's been my life with Baldur's Gate recently as well.
Dear.
Boom. There we are.
2 successes, which was what we wanted. Alright, so carrying on with the modification that was made to the main deflector, an alteration is made so that a signal, you identify the correct frequency and you send the signal back down to the planet in order to mitigate the harmful effects. And you do so. The ship starts to stabilize a bit, isn't shuddering quite as much, and Commander Zhang is able to bring the ship a little bit more safely up again with thrusters. So the immediate danger is gone, but the ship is still disabled in more than one way. You also notice at this juncture that the air is unfortunately starting to get a little thin on the ship.
Life support,
Hmm.
I guess.
Indeed, life support is starting to get on the ropey side. It seems that life support is struggling to keep up. So, what would you like to do about it, if anything?
Try and sort it out.
So, folks don't have life support technology as any focuses of any kind,
Focus.
really, do they? Not really, no. So this is going to be a basic engineering jobby to try and get life support back online, but only with emergency power. So like I said, you use power to use the thrusters to stabilize the orbit. You use power to emit the signal beam, and power is still falling as a result of needing the gravity deck plates to work and stuff like that. But yes, air production is now starting to suffer.
Can I rework the power so it's more efficient?
You can certainly give it a go. Give the ship more time.
Yep.
Anybody want to help? Or does everybody want to help? By this point, Hopkins
good.
could have made it back up to the bridge.
Oh, can Hopkins use the sensors of the smaller ship to possibly find the other ship we've been looking for?
Ooh, good point. Alright, so it seems that once again, Phlesc, Tavish, and Gerkow are going to be working together to do stuff related to the ship, whereas Hopkins is going to be working to do the mission. So, let's do Hopkins first then. Once again, this is going to be control and science because you're using the ship. The ship will assist. Who hasn't got to use the Gweechar yet? Pretty much anybody except Liz. So, Chris, do you want next dibs on the Gweechar?
Sure.
Do you know where to find it?
I think so. Yeah,
Got it? Cool.
got him.
So, it should already be selected. Sensors and science from the Gweechar, just one dice.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, nope, and no. Okay. So at the moment, the it's not exactly atmospherics that are. Hang on, let me rethink this. A sensor scan of the planet below does not find any evidence of a ship, but there is definitely the trail of the shuttle leads to this planet, and then just seems to suddenly disappear. Where it's gone, where it's anyway, you have no indication that it's either in orbit. You don't even have readings of debris. So it's not entirely obvious what, if anything, may have happened to this wayward shuttle, but you definitely seem to be at the planet where its trail ends. So you've got that. So it's entirely possible that what's happening to you might have happened to them. And on a shuttlecraft? However, moving on. Now, trying to get life support back online, let's have... this is going to be... If you're trying to rewire the power in a way that's going to sustain itself for a little bit longer with life support, this suggests daring and engineering to me. And I think Phlesc will do the same. He's got a pretty good daring and engineering herself. Neshlel also has a much bigger daring, so if all three can give me daring and engineering, this has the capability of going very wrong, so I am going to spend a threat on upping the complication range. as well as the difficulty. So the difficulty is now 3, with a complication range of 19 and 20. So, feel free to give me dem rolls, but one of you will be able to use either buying an extra dice using momentum, or getting a dice using determination. But only one of you.
Can I want to use my did the reading talent as well to use science instead of engineering.
To use science instead of engineering, that's fine. That is absolutely fine. Yes, that's what it's there for, so yes.
And then someone else can still use momentum for an extra
Well,
die.
Tavish is going to be the lead on this, so it would make sense for Tavish to be the one who buys extra dice using either momentum or determination, so... Unless, Chris, you thought Phlesc could do with getting some extra dice?
I'm going to stay away from the dice for a moment.
Liz, do you want to be Phlesc then, just to alleviate Chris's dice guilt?
Alright. So, what am I clicking for?
For Phlesc, this is going to be control and... No, it's going to be daring and engineering, with a focus on electroplasma power systems. 1 dice. 1 dice with focus. That's not bad at all. Thank you, Connie. 1 success. 2 success. Doing well. We just need 1 more. So, Dave, if Tavish can give us...
Let's spend a momentum and put that to 3.
Okie dokie.
Here we go.
Here we go. I see a 1, a 17, and a 12, so no complications. 5 successes in total, you get points back. So, yes, you managed to successfully rewire the power systems of the ship to feed through life support so that the oxygen on the ship is now being replenished. This comes at a cost, though. The ship is now going to give power to life support as a priority, which means maintaining the ship's position is going to be that much harder and require that much power, so you are in a bit of a race against time. And that is when something odd happens. Just as you're in the middle of trying to figure out what the next crisis you need to meet is, you suddenly feel an odd tingle as an aura surrounds your body, and you are caught in a transporter beam. And you find yourselves on the surface of a planet. I'm going to pause that there for a moment. You materialize on the planet's surface. Since you are breathing comfortably and not suffering any adverse effects, you conclude this must be an M-class planet. One of the enormous geometrical structures visible with the naked eye from orbit now towers in front of you. This gigantic pentagonal cylinder must have a diameter of at least 10 kilometers and is so tall you cannot see the top. It appears to be made from a single piece of stone, as no seams or other joints are apparent. Now, at the moment, I know you've got a big old map that you can look at, but this does not represent your current whereabouts on the planet just yet. I will let you know when they are. But the 6 of you have now been transported off of your ship, it seems, down to the planet's surface. So, whoever wants to, I am going to allow to make a reason and science task, difficulty 0. It might be an idea for Phlesc to do this because he has manufacturing and metallurgy.
I'll be honest, I reckon I can handle a difficulty 0.
Okay.
Not to toot my own horn.
That's fine. If you want to do it, go for it.
What are the attributes and disciplines, sorry?
Righty-ho. So if I can click on the right thing. Reason and science. Now, if this is Dr. Sod, then... Yeah, you don't...
Oh, I was going to do it as Phlesc.
Are you going to do it as Phlesc? That's fine. Do it as Phlesc. Absolutely do it as Phlesc. Because...
Cool. Plausible deniability if I get it wrong, then. Any focuses?
Yes, manufacturing and metallurgy.
Cool.
Zero successes. Okay. It was difficulty 0, so that's fine. If indeed this is a single piece of stone that this massive monolith is made out of, it must have been carved from a larger body. Looking at how big this monolith is, that suggests that something the size of a small moon must have been carved up in order to make this monolith that you are seeing in front of you. Something of that nature would require technology, not to mention power, of a level that is very much beyond current Federation tech. Now, with that in mind, there are a number of other structures of similar proportion and design that you can see in the distance, one of which definitely is emitting the same orange beam that snagged hold of the combs. Interestingly enough, on the horizon, you think you can see a second orange beam is being projected into space. Now, the terrain around you is mostly rolling grasslands with patchy grass at best. Small hills, no major terrain of any kind. There's just occasional hills and undulations in the terrain, but nothing big. No mountains, nothing like that. Nothing anywhere near that size. The monolith emitting the beam might be about a 90-minute walk from where you currently are. Other than that, what would you like to do?
Probably start walking towards the monolith.
Yeah, hopefully Parrish can deactivate that beam if we get there.
Can we
Now-
scan for life signs nearby?
Yes, yes you can. That will be a control and medicine check, unless you want to use Did the Reading. Or is it, does Did the Reading apply in that case? When you attempt a task, you may spend a momentum to use science on the task instead of the discipline you would usually use. So you'd have to spend momentum to do it. But if you want to whip out a tricorder and scan for life signs, you can, definitely. Control and medicine. Oh dear.
Oh my word.
Wow. Forge really hates you guys today.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe it's the heat, I don't know. I can't deal with this heat, man. Nah, just make them fail everything. Nah, I don't like it.
I'm surprised we even left the space station.
Yeah.
Just
You know
roll
what,
a
guys?
zero,
Screw
crash
this.
into the side of the dock.
Screw this, I'm not going, it's too hot. Does Dr. Sott want to attempt the same thing since he's got a much higher medicine check?
Oh, go on then. Medicine and what was it, sorry?
Control.
Control. 1 dice?
2 dice because you're using your own tricorder. That's much better.
The curse is broken.
For now.
Don't jinx it.
For
don't
now.
jinx
No, I'm a doctor, not a gambler.
Unlike the other one.
it.
Okay. So, and by the other one I actually meant Neshlel. Very much a gambler. For whatever reason, Neshlel's tricorder is having trouble locking onto any definitive signs of biology. Most likely from the energy emissions coming from the monolith that is emitting the beam. Dr. Sott, however, with a medical tricorder, has got his device configured a lot better to scan for life forms, and therefore does in fact pick up evidence of life forms, humanoid life forms at that, and they appear to be in the same direction as the orange beam, so handy.
Oh, Hopkins would mess with Neshlel and be like, "What do you have your tricorder set to? Looking for Dabo tables?"
As it happens. Never know, actually. Neshlel could have a programmable setting on her tricorder to scan for Ferengi cheating on the Dabo table. You know? Wait a minute, my tricorder says you just magnetized the Dabo ball to the wheel. Quark, please. Who are you playing against here? In any case, you have a destination now. Two signs point to that monolith in the distance, so the sooner you get moving, the better. Now, as it happens, Lieutenant Garrow does have survival as a focus. So, Dave, do you fancy giving Garrow a roll? This will be insight and security, I think, with a focus on survival. Two dice, if you please.
And we're not using determination on this, are we?
Unless you really, really want to, but I don't think it's worth the expenditure personally. Okay, 1 success, that's fine. So, Garrow, looking around, is looking for any obvious signs of animal tracks, anything that could pose evidence of deadly vegetation, that kind of thing, places not to step. Very quickly, Garrow points out a couple of fissures in the ground that at first glance are not easy to spot because everything is very much on the same kind of level. It gives a very distinct, almost illusion of just unbroken grassland in every direction. The only difference being that some of it is on a slight elevation compared to others, but pretty much it's just walking on one giant slab of grassland for as far as the eye can see. So these cracks and fissures that appear suddenly, that look pretty deep, just seem to come out of nowhere. And luckily, with Garrow looking out for it, he manages to avoid and help the rest of you guys avoid falling down any fissures or cracks in the ground. But Garrow, coming from a farming family back on Bajor, is kind of weirded out by this whole thing. Never has he known terrain like this. The fact that there are cracks and fissures in the ground suggests maybe there is movement of the ground enough to create these cracks, but the cracks themselves suggest it's more like dryness. Dryness in the ground creates these cracks as the soil just gets baked. So this whole topography troubles Garrow because it suggests there's been no tectonic movement on this planet at all, ever. There aren't even trees. Just low-level shrubs. So, the pentagonal monolith, when you arrive, is at least 2 meters tall, and its base must be about 300 meters on a side. The points where the orange beams emerge from the monolith are on the opposite side, not currently from in your view. A metallic case rests on the ground at the base of the monolith, not far from your position. It's open, but you cannot see inside from the distance that you're currently at. Walking further, you find that the case actually appears to be an emergency supply kit. Inside you find water, thermal blankets, an emergency surgical kit, and rations palatable to a Klingon, as well as a single inactive disruptor pistol.
Ooh, I'll take that.
Okie dokie. Weapons, disruptor pistol.
I think I might have better chance with this than I do with a phaser.
Point, press button. How hard can it be? Says the person who couldn't hit the broadside of a barn if he was standing right in front of it, but there we are.
Yeah, you couldn't hit a broadside of a barn.
I was talking about myself. I was talking about me. I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn if I was stood right in front of it, a centimeter away. I have terrible aim.
Apparently neither could Hopkins when she used it.
Well, I wasn't going to say nothing, but... Nevertheless, you think you can hear voices talking around the other side of the monolith that you're currently at. And so, moving around...
Let's continue, but be careful.
This is now where this map does come into effect. It's impossible to make out words, but as you get closer, you see a strange sight. 8 creatures stand at the base of the monolith, looking up at the orange beams exiting the structure at a point 50 meters up. From this distance you can see that all of the creatures are humanoid. 2 appear human and are wearing Starfleet uniforms. 2 are Klingon. 1 is a Vulcan, another is a Romulan, and the final pair are Trill. The Romulan looks at your group and points, causing the rest of this strange menagerie to look in your direction. Then, they all go back to looking at the monolith without a second glance at your presence.
Can we scan them
Yes?
from here, or is it probably worth getting up to them and letting our Phlesc scanning them?
You can scan them, but I'm just gonna go walk ahead. There's something intriguing about it. I'm gonna go. See you later.
Yep, you should have full control of your character tokens, so feel free to move them. I will bring along the other 2. Let's get a better view of what's going on here. Here we go. Okay. So the other individuals are all just there, staring at the outside of the monolith, just kind of milling around. They're not saying much. The Klingons don't seem to be paying all that much attention to the fact that there's a Romulan amongst them. The Romulan, likewise, doesn't seem to be distressed by the fact that he's surrounded by people who are, at the very least, on wavy footing with his government. So it is all very strange.
For the Klingons, is there anything to identify possibly what house they might be from?
The house markings they have isn't one that you're familiar with, which in its own way is good news because they're not an enemy. But they appear
They're also
to be...
not an ally.
They're also potentially not an ally, so... Yes, neutral, I believe, would be the better description. So... Yes.
But the two Starfleet, are these possibly the two that description-wise would match who we're looking
They
for?
seem to match the description of the two officers that you were sent to get, yes. Gerkow is very quick to point that out. Okay.
What were their ranks, if we knew?
It says here they're both just ensigns.
I think Hopkins would walk up to him and then be like, "Well, ensigns, hope you enjoyed your little joyride."
They kind of turn around at Hopkins when she addresses them, and they just look kind of blankly back at her. Joyride? I'm sorry. What?
I'm just gonna go knocking on this monolith. There's got to be some side.
Duck, 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 duck. Duck, 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 duck. Listening for hollow sounds. Yeah, the rest of you who are looking on do notice that occasionally the other folks here, including the Klingons and the Romulan, are just kind of feeling along the outside of the monolith, almost like they're searching for something. I'm sorry,
What are you
Commander.
searching for? Sorry.
Who are you asking? Who's Tavish asking?
Anybody? She says it very loud, and pretty much to the whole group in front of her.
The Vulcan turns around and goes, "We are searching for a way inside, obviously."
Oh, so you can actually talk with more than. Why are you so transfixed on this thing?
Because we need to get inside.
And why is that?
I am not sure. I need to get inside.
Well, that doesn't seem like a very logical answer.
Don't worry about it, Lieutenant. Come on, let's just find a way inside.
Are you alright, Neshlel?
We must
We
find
sure-
a way inside.
Are we sure she's not a changeling?
Dr. Sott has records of her undergoing blood screening when she first embarked on the combs earlier, so...
Right. Why do we need to get inside? I just want a reason.
We...
Possibly this whole place. stop the orange thing. That's, draining our ship's power.
All right, I'm asking these people, and apparently Neshlel now.
The ensign closest to Tavish speaks up at this point. We just have to get in. I just know that I have to get in. That's why we took the shuttle. We have to get here. We have to get inside.
You're not asking. You're not answering my question. I'm asking why.
Well, it's...
Give me a straight answer, and I will help you. I have the hyperspanner.
This guy looks at this guy, and they both seem on the verge of giving you an answer when they suddenly stop. And they just kind of fade out and then go back to looking at the monolith.
Have you guys checked the other side of the monolith to see if the doors, I don't know, on that side of the building?
Da, says one of the Trill, who seems quite young. Of course we tried the other side, there's just something here. We've tried everywhere else, right?
Neshlel, have you had too many Weetabix this morning?
I'm just sniffing the monolith for a way inside. I'm gonna use my Pelorite nose.
Sniffing.
Sniff, sniff.
Can Hopkins look to see if there's a way in that these, I guess, transfixed people can't see?
The monolith appears to be just like the other ones, all one big, seamless piece of material, whatever it is. Looks like stone. But when you look more closely, you notice that there are runes and etchings on the outside of the monolith. That they in some instances they remind you of primitive pictograms that you see in ancient cultures, but at the same time there's a very definite sophistication to them, and at the same time there are lots of these running channels along the exterior, almost like every time I have words and I keep forgetting them. Almost like lines of solder between, but on a computer chip. So these runes and pictograms are all made out of the same kind of almost solder-like material. But they are just as solid and ingrained into the outer skin of the monolith as the stone itself.
Can Hopkins, with help of whoever wants to help, I guess, figure out if they open a door?
Okay.
I think it'd be better. I do have a suggestion. He's trying to maybe translate them, because if we could try and translate them, or even have a partial translation, we may be able to figure a way out, way in. But also, I think it would be an idea for Dr. Spot to properly scan the people and Neshlel to find out exactly why they are so transfixed on this. If something's happening to their brainwaves.
Dr. Sock can do that, while Hopkins can hopefully try to use like Gwen sticks to try her best to figure out what the heck these things say.
Okie dokie. Who am I looking for here? else have it? No. No. Except for maybe... No. Okay. Sorry, I forgot that was my outside voice, not my inside voice. In my head voice, I mean. Right, okay, so if we want to do Dr. Sot first then, giving everybody a once-over with a tricorder to try and determine what might be going on here. Control and medicine, basically.
Sure.
With...
Maybe a bit of psychiatry?
I was going to suggest that, actually.
Weird.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I'm listening.
I see what you did there. 2 successes. Very nice. Okay. The tricorder shows no evidence of any kind of external signal that could be interfering with their brainwaves. However, when analyzing their brainwaves, Dr. Sot does notice a commonality. There's a certain amount of I think it's alpha waves that are the type of waves you get when a humanoid brain is like hypnotized or semi-asleep. Kind of like, you know, dreaming or hallucinating, that kind of thing. But they're not in any kind of aggravated sense. There's a small amount of evidence that suggests that kind of alpha wave state has been is shared commonly throughout all of them, including Neshlel. What could be causing that is not obvious. There's definitely nothing. It's not something to do with plant life or bacteria or something like that. Otherwise, you might all be affected. Because for a human. For humans, Trills, Vulcans, Klingons, and Romulans, and Tellarite, to all be displaying these symptoms, it would suggest something that could go, if it was bacterial or viral, that suggests something that can cross species boundaries. But because not all of you are showing these symptoms, that doesn't seem to fall into what it could be. If it's if it's some kind of weird power emanation from either the monolith or the beam or some other, or this weird radio signal that apparently you were sent to investigate as well. If this radio signal is what's affecting people's brains, then again, why is it only affecting some of you and not everybody? So it's very, very strange. There's very definitely something working on these people's brainwaves to suggest that they are acting in this compulsive but semi-hypnotized state, but it really isn't obvious what that external factor might be. In the meantime, somebody was going to be looking at the exterior of the monolith and having a close little look. Now, I will say that Dr. Sot does have cultural studies as a focus, and therefore Dr. Sot might be quite useful in this examination also. Anybody else who wants to add their intellect can attempt to, but Sot is really the one with the focus for it. So I'm going to ask for insight and science from Hopkins and Dr. Sot.
Cool.
And this is going to be difficulty 2.
Am I leading the charge on this one with 2 dice?
It might be an idea to. I mean, Hopkins can definitely help with linguistics, almost certainly.
I was about to ask if I could use that.
Yeah. 2 successes from Sot. I mean, even Neshlel in her otherwise altered state can aid this if she really wants to.
Just want to get in.
Exactly. So it'll help that maybe, but... Okay, 3 successes. Very, very good. I have lost my threat and momentum again. Gosh dang it.
Don't worry, there was no importance on threat.
Threat? No,
Use it all
I'm sure. It's more your momentum pool I was more interested in, because you do earn a point back for that. So, yes, very interesting. Before I get to what you discover, I'm also going to suggest that the others, Tavish, Phlesc possibly, and Neshlel actually, might try reason and science with a difficulty of 2. So probably Neshlel and Tavish can attempt that check, please, together. Whoever has got reason and science best. Reason 9, science 4 versus Tavish's reason 10, science 4. So either of you do the job at leading. I would say
I'll let
potentially
Neshlel
Tavish,
take the lead. Oh,
but
okay.
Neshlel can definitely help.
Not really any focuses.
Not really. Just looking for a flat smarts roll is what I'm getting for. Yep. Going for. Oh, another 19, Connie. Blimey. One success.
Not in the
Tavish.
position to think right now. I'm just in the kitchen.
Yes, quite. Tavish isn't having much better luck. Okie dokie. So yes, this whole thing, Tavish is just baffling. Neshlel appears to have most of her faculties about her, but yeah, it's just too determined to get inside rather than think too clearly on what this might all mean. Meanwhile, Sot and Hopkins. Studying the surface of the monolith, in particular the etched runes, the patterns appear to be a mix of advanced science and cultural symbols. The symbols make use of what you can only imagine would be examples of myth, legend, and history from some culture that you're not familiar with. One section of these inscriptions discusses, and this is where Hopkins' linguistics comes in, something that you think says, the opening of the way to those who are worthy of the power.
Great. Riddles.
It almost
We will
looks
start
like...
looking.
Go on, sorry.
Oh, if you were, maybe that was going to answer my question. I don't know. Let's see.
Well, I was going to say that that specific section with those markings on it look like it is a little different from the rest of the surface of the monolith, and that at close inspection it looks like that section might be able to depress inwards.
He will try to push in with hopefully Gerkow's help.
Okay. Won't require
And
that.
possibly, hopefully, the rest of the crew. Like, hey, Neshlel, I might have found a way in.
Neshlel's very
See,
excited
that'll-
for this, and this gets the attention of all the others as well. Alright, so you're going to touch this section, and that's when a beam of light suddenly appears just in front of this section of the wall by there. With the activation of one section of this, pardon me, this beam now shines on the ground by there, specifically this empty space. At which
Someone
point,
have to stand in there.
the Romulan moves onto it. When nobody else does. And that is when a doorway sighs open on the surface of the monolith. It just seems to be there. A section that looked like it was one entire whole unbroken section just kind of peels away to reveal an entrance. With the activation of one section of the monolith, Yes, it created a soft blue beam that was almost like a spotlight. And... whoa! Okay, you guys get that far, as all of a sudden, yes, a load are very interested in getting inside as quickly as possible. Neshlel dives in. Let me change the ambience.
Oh, Hopkins would also just throw it in and be like, "You're welcome."
Okay. Neshlel doesn't even take time to notice the pulsating blue walls around her as she goes rushing in headlong, wanting to get into this place as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, that's when she fails to notice. With a crackle and a pop, a beam lances out from the wall. Now, this will... ooh, where is it? This beam does... damn it, there it is. And I am gonna have to roll some dice. It doesn't do 28, but what it does do is 1, 2, 3... that wasn't an awful lot. Right. In her state, Neshlel doesn't see the beam as it starts to pulsate and power up on the side of the wall. Hopkins, however, thankfully, slightly more right-minded, does see it and manages to drag Neshlel back pretty quick as this beam just darts out of the wall. But Neshlel does manage to catch some of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the beam catches part of Neshlel's uniform, and the tricorder that she was holding earlier also goes flying. The beam disintegrates them both. The tricorder is gone, and a section of Neshlel's uniform has now been burned away. Neshlel's very keen, though, to keep on going into the corridor. And unfortunately, so are the others outside, who now are starting to crowd and bump into each other, and are, at the moment, stopping each other from getting in, but they all seem to be pushing with intent on getting inside, even though you all just saw what happened when somebody tried crossing that threshold. What are you going to do?
Can I sort of scan Neshlel from afar, see if she got injured?
Yes, you can, and I won't ask for a check for that because it was terribly easy. It was a minor burn, but from the way that her uniform has been gone, that was some kind of disintegration beam. So basically, anything that gets caught in the path of that beam gets atomized. Now, you've got a pair of Klingons, a Romulan and a Vulcan, who are all pretty strong, and they're all contesting with each other now to see who can get past into the corridor with intent of getting past you, or getting in there first.
I feel like Garrow should probably be running interference.
Okay.
Gerkow, can you pass me the Romulan real fast?
Okay, he flings the Romulan in, trying to hold back the others. Garrow asks for a little help from whoever's available. So we'll bring in Phlesc.
Alright, which one's the Romulan?
This guy.
I don't see the Romulan.
Oh, no, pardon me, he was invisible. Whoop!
Okay.
The Romulan
does the
gets
Romulan
up...
have...
Yep, go on, sorry.
Does the Romulan have any electronics on him, like a communicator or tricorder or anything?
If he does, he's not wearing them out on his hip, open for all to see.
Alright,
However, he's now
Hopkins
looking
got-
up with the intention of... He looks like he wants to run further in.
she's gonna hold him down and then frisk him to make sure he doesn't have any of that on him.
Right, what are you doing
Yes,
with
you'll-
Neshlel while this is happening?
He's moving Neshlel back. He basically
So-
flings Neshlel back to Gerkow.
Grab her by the collar and haul her back? Okay.
No.
Like, Gerkow, keep her out of here.
Doing my best with what I've got out here, Commander.
Maybe I should like administer some sort of like what's the word I'm looking for here?
Sedative?
Oh, tranquilizer.
Tranquilizer.
Sedative. Thank you. Yeah, to Neshlel.
No. You're gonna have
At
to
least-
roll a die for that.
Well, yes, okay. Control and medicine.
Uh,
Can I get an opposition roll of fitness and medicine from Neshlel, please?
I also have hand-to-hand combat.
oh no!
Which is representing her fighting against it.
Oh no!
So that's Dr. Sot's one success, and the no successes
Whoa.
from Neshlel. So Neshlel does fight Sot off, but Sot manages to get the hyper spray under one of her arms and injects her into the neck so that she's at least passive for the time being. But how long that'll last is anybody's guess.
So
Not
does
long.
my frisking of the Romulan reveal any electronics on him?
He's got a disruptor pistol, that's it.
Alright, she'll take the disruptor pistol from him
hmm
and then let him move on and see if he can get past the beam.
He makes a run for
On
it.
the left.
Nobody's going to stop him?
She's gonna
Nope.
keep an eye on him, and if he looks like he's gonna get disintegrated, she's gonna yank it back.
So the beam lances out again. So what was Hopkins's plan there if it happened again?
Hopefully yank him back.
Hopefully
Ease
yank
him
it back.
to the
Okay.
corridor.
So yes, he goes in with intent of going past the corridor into the main chamber. So Hopkins does have to pull him back at the last minute, just as the beam fires out again.
Okay, so electronics does not. It's not what activates. Okay. Moves the Romulan back to the other side of the group, and it's like, all right, who can, like, Dr. Todd, I need you to figure out how to get past this stupid disruptor thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say like myself or Phlesc maybe. Like Neshlel would be the obvious choice, but she's indisposed. One of us needs to like sort of scan this this beam here. I think
Okay.
just to see what's going on, see if we can disable it before someone throws himself through it.
Yeah, because apparently, technology is not what triggers it. Apparently, it's just anything.
Anybody
I
who go on?
So I have a higher science stat, so I don't mind leading the charge, and then maybe Phlesc could assist.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Hopkins will stay here and keep everyone back.
Okay. Those who are
And
doing
drag Neshlel's passive body outside the corridor.
Neshlel does offer the odd thrash, the odd kick, like she's having an active dream. So part of Neshlel is still trying to get inside, but she's like floppy from being sleepy with the sedative. So she's like half asleep, fighting it, but still looks like she wants to get inside.
Have Pavish sit here, and we're just gonna make a little phalanx.
Shield, a fence of people. Those who are going to examine the beam, then the trap, give me insight and science with a difficulty of 2.
Cool. I will roll for myself.
And
Should I use cultural studies again? Because it's like all part of the same monolith, or is it less cryptic now and more just laser beam?
It's a bit less cryptic and more laser beam. So
Cool, no worries.
I see a 20.
Can I re-roll the 20, please?
Unless we want Sot
determination.
Phlesc to get involved with an assist, and then you can ignore the complication.
Oh, okay, then might as well do that.
Who can we have as Phlesc this time? Lizzie Beth, you haven't rolled in a while.
Alright, what do I need? Insight. Okay.
Insight and science from Lieutenant Phlesc, please.
Would electroplasma power systems work
Sure.
as a focus?
One success. Okay, so we can ignore that complication. We get 2 successes overall, which was what we needed. Any living organism passing through that portion of the tunnel appears to trigger the trap, and it appears to blast with a disintegration ray loaded somewhere into the wall, although it's difficult to tell where for certain. And that's when you get a notice from outside from Lieutenant Gerkow going, Commander, we've got visitors? Because that teleportation sound has just happened again, and a trio of Klingons has just appeared.
Ah, rats.
And they move up.
Are
Aha!
they just as crazy to come in?
No!
I genuinely read one of them as Keith then. Keith the Klingon.
Well, he can be Keith the Klingon now. I'm convinced. Keith seems to be the leader of this trio and just strides up to these 2 Klingons. The ones who have been pawing at the monolith.
You! Dulog! Brutok! You are to come with us immediately and answer for your crimes!
And then the Klingons seem to notice you guys.
Oh!
Hopkins is gonna be like, did these 2 happen to probably steal a shuttle? And
They
kill a couple people?
stole... These 2 Klingons stole a bird of prey. Then I see you are having troubles of your own. What is going on here?
Those two, and she points to the 2 officers, basically did the same thing, except for a small shuttlecraft.
Well, why did you attack our ship in orbit? Why did you steal us away to the surface?
We didn't do nothing. We're in the same boat.
So your ship is the other one captured in orbit of this planet?
Yeah.
Yeah, ta.
What
It
house
seems
do you
are in
hail
the
from?
same.
I hadn't thought of that. Give me a second. What's the name of the captain? Parak.
House of Smith.
Well, we've got Keith. Richards. The House Richards. House Parak.
Well, we're trying to figure out a way to get past our monolith to hopefully just deactivate what's holding our ship. If we can figure that out, we could probably go to your monolith and do the same thing, so both of us can get the heck out of here with our respective,
Captives.
Yeah.
Very well. It seems you are at least more aware of what is going on here than we. We at least demand that by the end of this we take our 2 Klingon prisoners with us to answer for their crimes in our empire. You can have the rest.
That seems fair.
We can assist with holding them back if you wish to use the time to conduct your own investigations. But they seem pretty keen on getting inside, so do what you need to do swiftly.
Yes, they do.
So this will allow you guys to investigate the interior of the monolith whilst your other characters are holding... Including 3 Klingons are holding these guys back for now. Neshlel's sedative can wear off a bit more by now to give her an excuse to investigate. Gerkow can stay here helping to hold back the guys at the door.
Yeah, Hopkins is gonna keep an eye on Neshlel.
Yeah.
So why is the monolith so intent on like bringing people here? It's just gonna like zap them the minute they go in the front door. Unless it can like detect the people who it has like ensnared. But then again, it still went for Neshlel.
Yeah.
That was rude.
Any progress, Doctor?
It's a laser beam. It's coming from the wall, and any organic life, well, presumably organic, anything showing signs of life will get zapped upon trying to pass through it. We haven't been able to identify the source of it quite yet.
Okay. How about another test? You got a way to make it appear that somebody is not breathing or has no pulse.
You've got tricorders. You could try and emitting some kind of dampening signal.
Give that a go.
Block life signs. That's going to be insight and science with a difficulty of 3. Once again, I have lost my momentum and threat. Don't know why it keeps doing that.
Boom.
Pop. Right, I think I missed something there when I was loading back in. Was there a...
Oh.
Did someone do... what was it?
Yeah,
Insight
I
and
rolled.
science?
Yeah, I rolled 3 successes. I had a 2 and a 1.
3
Honest.
successes. Cool beans. I'll go with that. I must have missed it because it was reloading. Or it hasn't reached me yet, which is even worse. Never mind. Alright then. Yes, you reckon you can configure the tricorders to emit a dampening field that makes it seem as if that, living creatures aren't going past, so it should allow you access. How long it allows you access for remains to be seen, but you've at least for the moment got a working counter option to the beam.
Alright, time for the test. Hopkins will move in front of the beam to see if it strikes her.
Nothing seems to happen.
Alright, cool. Damage, get across quickly! I might need an engineer.
So, entering the pentagonal monolith, you find an interior passageway that's lit by glowing runes on the walls and ceiling, cutting towards the center of the huge tower. The passage continues ahead, and then you come to a large chamber, almost like a command room. This large room, also pentagonal, contains the same blue etchings that cover the outside of the monolith. It seems to be a control room of some kind, with control panels and displays spread about. The amount of dust covering the controls and other the other interior parts of the interior, it's apparent this place hasn't seen use in a very long time.
I would almost presume that these other hallways have the same death trap and lead outside the monolith.
Yeah, can we disable those from in here?
Potentially.
Just so we haven't got to worry about the rest of our crew grappling with the other monolith zombies outside.
Speaking of, Neshlel is now roaming along this central control area. It's just kind of pawing at the controls, almost as if she's trying to see what works and what doesn't. Nothing.
Do you have any insight into Neshlel?
Go on, sorry.
I was going to say, does she have any insight? Is she able to? Is she lucid? Can she tell us what she's doing?
She's fairly lucid.
What's her motivation?
What's her motivation? She needs to activate the monolith. She thinks.
Press all buttons.
Just press all buttons, exactly.
Oh dear.
So,
God.
seemingly in random patterns as well, she's just banging on whatever looks like she's closest to. Nothing happens despite Neshlel's actions. And Neshlel looks like, even in her sedated stupor, that she's starting to get a little more frantic looking. And then the displays suddenly spring to life. And the other systems activate. So, the displays spring up, showing 3D displays running a variety of status upgrades and algorithms incomprehensible without more careful study. Some information is easy to see, however. One display, if I can just turn this down a smidgeroony. Pardon me. Display algorithms incomprehensible. Some disinformation is easy. One display shows a 3D representation of the planet you're on, of the system you're in, pardon me, the Bacchus system. And it shows a beam shooting from the 4th planet, which is where you reckon you are, reaching out to a moon of the 3rd planet. The moon, you then, as you watch, is pulled out of orbit, cut into huge monoliths of different geometrical shapes, and then pulled down to the surface of the 4th planet. Another display shows a display of the galaxy with bits of red highlighting different points all over the galaxy, including the 4th planet of the Bacchus system. The greatest concentration of lights appears to be in an area that matches up with what you know the Shackleton Expanse covers. And another display shows a representation of twin orange beams trapping both your ship and a Klingon bird of prey. This display, the last one, looks like both ships are in danger of being torn apart.
Hopkins is going...
Go on, Liz.
Sorry, go for it.
Oh, so you're just gonna figure out a way to turn off the freaking
Yeah.
beams. With hopefully Dr. Sott's help. Or helping Dr. Sott. What are the two?
Well, pretty much anybody can get in on this, because you're going to need everyone you can to try and figure out what's what here. So,
I feel like maybe Tavish as well, you know, with the
Yeah.
engineering expertise.
So
Yeah.
this next task is going to be daring and science with a difficulty of 3, because you're using technology you're not entirely sure you know how it works.
I've only got 8 daring, but 5 science.
No, I only have 2 science. I'm trying to figure out a way to possibly make it command.
I command you to turn off. Just pull a Kirk and just talk to the computer and break it.
Daring 11, science 4.
I feel like you might have the best all round.
Pretty good.
Maybe
Yeah, no.
Tavish and then we'll assist.
Can I use like wind sticks and then use command as I am interpreting the language
Sure,
and
I'll go with
pointing
that.
out possibly what's what?
Okay, cool. Yep, I'm good with that.
Well, this allows me to use command.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. Go for it. Whatever you think you would use in this situation. Because command suggests that Hopkins is giving orders as to the best ways of trying to coordinate everybody. So, whoever you decided,
Yeah, I would suggest Tavish leads, and then I'll assist.
daring and science, or whatever it was that you agreed upon individually. So whoever leads,
So-
yes, appears Tavish. So go for. We've just had Hopkins there, have we? And Phlesks too.
Phlesk's rolls from a while ago.
Okay, so it's Hopkins is starting it. Okay, cool. No, that's better. That's better. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, yeah. So Neshlel, Tavish, Dr. Sott, and Hopkins all together would make the maximum of 5. So that's cool.
Here's mine.
Hopkins' rolls. That was almost a 1, but no, it's a 13. But it's still a success, so that's cool. 2 successes so far. Just need 1 more. So now we need Neshlel and or Tavish's.
Neshlel, you
Daring
you
and
wanna take this?
science. Sounds like Neshlel's kind of thing.
Oh, fine.
Because like I said, she's compelled to, you know, look at all of this, but to try and access all of this. But she's also got some of her wit still about her, enough to conduct these summations. Oh, Connie, what is with the 19s today?
I don't know what's going on.
I'm just
Aliens.
I'm just happy Matt's not trying to up the complication range.
Well, I don't think I need to. At this rate. All right then, Dave, go for it. 2 dice.
Any
Daring and
focuses?
science. Any focuses? Ugh. Any focuses? Experimental technology?
Yeah, I was looking at that.
Best one I can think of. That was almost a 19 there. 3 successes, 4 overall, much, much better. Okay, it takes you a while. But you start to figure out which controls equate to which function. And eventually, you are able to figure out which controls are used to power down the beams. So, I am presuming you are doing that. With no objections, I'm going to go under the assumption that you want to, you know, save your ships.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, go on then.
So, inputting the sequence you believe is what will be powering down the beam. The dazzling displays of information stream from all directions, and then an explosion rocks the monolith. All of the displays go dark simultaneously. Boing, 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 boing.
Does Neshlel look like she still wants to stay here?
She's starting to look a little less certain about it, yes. All the displays go dark simultaneously, leaving you in the dark. Then one display appears, showing you a holographic representation of the Bacchus system. It shows the planet you are on, with beams of energy bolting out and destroying the other planets in the system. Change the ambience. A placid voice speaks throughout the control room. Now let's see if I can find it.
Your access of our technology has put you in danger. This system will be destroyed. Use the teleportation field to return to your ship and leave this star system immediately.
Did you catch that?
Next to beam up.
Activate the transporter beam and transport the Klingons back to their ship, including the 2 prisoners that the Klingons want, and then transport everyone else to our ship.
The voice repeats the message as a purple beam of light. Right here. Let me get a spotter for that. Bing, 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 bing. A purple beam of light plays as a spotlight on the floor. Those of you who are not influenced by intelligences outside of your current comprehension know that you should really want to get off this planet as quickly as possible. And the 3 Klingons, who appear to have their faculties about them on the outside, seem to think this is also a good idea.
Yeah.
However, the ones who are under the influence of whatever is going on look like they're not all that willing to leave right now.
Come on, Neshlel. Come here.
Hey,
Hopkins will try to tackle Neshlel to drag her out.
Meanwhile, the other 3 Klingons seem intent on dragging, with help from Garrow, dragging these other folks to the apparent safety of this beam as this warning message is continuing to be played out.
Come here.
And the display in the center of the room is showing you what you think is going on immediately right now in the system, as this planet is shooting out beams of destructive power into the system and is leveling, destroying the other planets in the system.
Alright, we need to restrain Neshlel again, apparently.
So those who are going to do restraining of other people, which is probably going to be Hopkins and Gerkow, so either Dave or Chris or Connie, if you want to, be ironic, can be Gerkow. So whoever wants to be Gerkow, speak up now. Otherwise, I'm going to give it to Connie because it's funny.
Okay, good, Connie, because it's funny.
Yes.
Well, number 19 was Carol.
So yeah, watch as he rolls night. That's a good point. Maybe I shouldn't have. Gerkow, where's Gerkow to? Where'd he go?
He's by me.
There he is, he's right there. Couldn't see him for a moment. So Gerkow is going to be assisting Hopkins, or Hopkins is going to be assisting Gerkow. Both of them have got pretty high security.
I don't know, what's the other
Fitness
one that we need to roll?
10, fitness is 8. Maybe Gerkow should lead this.
Yeah.
Hopkins will roll 1 dice, fitness and security. Gerkow will
have
roll
hand-to-hand.
2 dice, fitness and security. What was that, sorry, Liz?
I do have hand-to-hand.
You do have hand-to-hand, so you can use that focus. Absolutely, you can.
As does Carol.
Just keep the bat that away.
Yes, just use your hands this time, not the weapons. So, Hopkins aiding Gerkow, both of them using hand-to-hand as a focus, both of them using fitness and security. Gerkow rolling 2, Hopkins rolling 1. Difficulty is going to be whatever I think of it, depending on how well and how badly you do. 2 successes, 5 successes in total, 4 successes in total, that's more than enough, including help from the 3 Klingons to drag all of those who are resisting to the point of light. Now this is where I actually hope that this is obvious. It might not be. Can I make the dimensions a bit bigger? There's going to be a point on the floor appearing, hopefully, where you should be able to see it. Yes. Can you see an icon has now appeared?
Yeah.
Right, before you put your characters anywhere near it or click on it, do not yet.
Oops.
Whoops.
Whoops days. Have you disappeared? No, you haven't disappeared. Okay, cool. Give me just a second. I need to load up the map where you will be going towards.
Oh, you mean the Klingon bridge?
As it happens. So, if you have your character selected, and you go up to the purple beam of light, so Dr. Sott can illustrate. If you have your character selected and you press that transporter beam icon, it should transport you to and load you into another map. Where, yeah, Dr. Sott suddenly finds himself on the bridge of a Klingon ship.
Hello.
So the folks back on the surface you can now start loading yourselves into this other map, if you please, unless it's been closed off. Has it been closed off? Can you actually see that icon?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome sauce. So,
Okay,
if you need to move more than one individual,
yeah, I kind of accidentally got Phlesc.
If you have more than
Phlesc, I
one
need you to
character
move.
highlighted, hold down Alt and drag them, and you'll take them all with you. So if you have Phlesc and Hopkins highlighted, hold down Alt and drag, and you take them. You take them both.
I also had Phlesc, or Neshlel, so I needed her to move,
Okay.
so I don't accidentally move her character.
Connie, do you want to press the button to get transported? There you go. Off he goes. Right, so rather than clutter the bridge of the bird of prey, I'm going to assume that the others are dragged on. The other zombies, as Chris called them, are going to be dragged on. If you press it again, it does bring you straight back. It's a two-way transporter. I'll bring Phlesc, don't worry about him. And here we go. Bop. So
What a
you suddenly
lovely
find
bird.
yourselves on board of the Klingon ship. Now, let me disable that, so you don't all end up going away. So, you're on board of the Klingon ship. And, yeah, as your senses return from the transport, you first notice you're on the bridge of a small craft. The air is stale and reeks of Klingons. A dozen shocked Klingons turn and level disruptors at you.
What is this intrusion?
Yells the closest, his finger dangerously twitchy on his disruptor.
Hopkins in Klingon. We got teleported to your ship by accident.
The captain turns around on his command throne.
Are you responsible with what has happened to my ship?
That it's no longer trapped? Yes. That it was trapped in the first place? No.
Very well, we need to get out of here and quickly. The
Yes,
other ship, the Federation ship, the one that I presume you came from, appears to be freed from its tractor beam and is now making its way towards the edge of the system.
Yes. Can you hail them so we can teleport to that ship? Please.
Very well.
The captain yells over to one of his bridge officers, and yes, a comm signal is patched through to the combs. Let me quickly bring up the combs.
And for everyone else, it's just two Klingons talking in Klingon. Or at least Hopkins is talking in Klingon.
Commander Hopkins, this is Captain Sobek. It is good to see you alive. The other Klingon
yeah.
ship that you are currently on, it seems, appeared not long ago. The beams holding the ships have released us, but it seems that the planet we were captured by is now destroying the entire system. We need to get out of here immediately.
Yeah, we need a beam over with the two officers, a Romulan, Vulcan, and what was the other two people's race?
2 Trill.
And 2 Trill.
Very well, prepare for transport.
So,
Roger, sir.
let me see, let me get you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and Neshlel as you are beamed back to your ship. So, as soon as you beam back aboard the bridge, basically, of the combs, the viewer is now full of the sight of the planet that you were on, now firing beams of energy that are just laying waste to the entire system. The planet itself also appears to be coming apart. Lieutenant Commander Lian Zhang yells from her position at the helm, "We still need warp engines to get us out of here!" So, you guys need to activate warp engines. Lickety-split! This is going to be a daring and engineering task with a focus of either warp engines, warp power plasma systems, and or warp field dynamics, any and all of that. Going to be difficulty 3 because you're going from a cold start. Can you do it before the planet annihilates the entire system?
Tavish and Phlesc.
Tavish and Phlesc, yes indeed. Also couldn't help to have a Neshlel involved in this. Maybe even Hopkins. Hopkins
going
using her
to-
command ability.
Okay, thank goodness.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. So all 5 of you, with Phlesc and Hopkins and Neshlel and Tavish all working together, you should have the maximum of 5 dice.
And I will use
Presence
guess
and command,
presence?
probably. Yep.
it with inspiration.
Yep. Otherwise, daring and engineering or daring and science in Neshlel's case. Everybody with any applicable focus you can come up with. Oh, we're racking up the successes. Very nice. So, Chris, if you could be Phlesc as per usual.
Sure. Daring
Hey,
science.
Look,
Use
now that
focus.
Neshlel is no longer under the way of the
Yes, she's thinking a
monolith,
lot
can
clearer
actually
now.
look-
I was gonna say, does does Sot need to like take her down to sick bay, or is she?
For the moment, she's lucid enough that she
Cognitive.
can assist with this, but she'll probably need looking at. Yes.
I'm well enough to not want to blow up.
Yes. So now it comes down to Tavish. Daring and engineering
daring.
to do a cold restart of the warp engines quickly.
Warp engines is
Yep.
the focus, yes.
There's a 19, but there's also 2 successes. With a loud ka-thunk, the warp engines come back online, and then just as quickly as the helm systems read that the engines are online, warp out just as the 4th planet explodes.
I hope the Klingons get out too.
The Klingons are on your coattails, as it were, coasting along just behind. Whew, that was a
we didn't
close
get
one.
the shuttle. We didn't get the shuttle back, but at least we got the officers.
Yes, indeed. The Klingons send a message thanking you for your assistance in helping get their officers and the 2 Klingons that they were looking to apprehend back. But the Klingon captain is himself extremely confused as to what the dickens was going on with all of this. But it seems, for the most part, you may not ever completely know what it was that was going on. But one thing seems evident. Somebody constructed maybe that planet, maybe just the monoliths, but certainly constructed that technology which had the power, apparently, to seize 2 vessels out of space and hold them there, as well as, if what those recordings suggested, were also able to rip moons out of planetary orbits and carve them into nice decorations. Whoever or whatever that culture was, well, unfortunately for the moment it seems you're left with more questions than answers. But after Neshlel is seen to by Dr. Sot, Neshlel does remember that when she started utilizing and smacking the controls and the controls came on, just before you managed to deactivate the 2 beams holding the ships in orbit, Neshlel could have sworn that she felt the brush of another consciousness against hers. Just for a moment. And in that brief moment, that consciousness seemed desperate. But then you lost it, and then the whole kerfuffle with the security system on the planet activating and not wanting to be destroyed took priority. What does this all mean? Why were these people acting the way they were, and why some people and not others? Well, for the time being, I'm afraid that's going to have to go unanswered. But this might not be the last time this happens. So, for the moment, we consider this the end of this episode. I will break into what happens directly after this episode next week when we start our new episode. So there will be some fallout from this, nature of which I will keep to myself and keep for you guys to come back to next week. So in my records, we still do not have our chief security officer next week, but hopefully Mark should be back with us next week in order to give us Lieutenant Phlesc. But for the meantime, that was that episode done and dusted.
After that, Hopkins will go back to her room and drink blood wine.
Yes, that was quite a bit of stress. Nearly getting blown up. So yes, ramifications of this might very well be felt later.
And she'll just put the Type 2 phaser back in the arms room and keep the disruptor phaser.
Keep the Klingon disruptor. Okay. Nice. She's getting a lot of keepsakes, a lot of Klingon keepsakes from this. Before long, she'll be fully kitted out in all the Klingon paraphernalia, and there won't be much Starfleet uniform left. However, like I said, that's the end of that particular episode, episode 5 already, so, Thank you for watching, thank you, Suitable Substrate, for tuning in, and everybody else as well. Before we sign off, any parting words folks have got? Any stuff they want to plug again, or any final notices they want their characters to have before this episode fully ends? Nope? Okay, well, downtime we can discuss on the Discord channel after we end the stream. So in the meantime, I will be asking you all to... Actually, in this case, I'll be asking you to do like the Vulcans do, which in this case is live long and prosper. So making a bit of a change to my usual sign-out. But also to remember to engage in infinite diversity in infinite combinations. To all look after each other and treat each other nicely, especially in these wacky and weird days that we appear to be living in. And until next time, we will see you hopefully next week with most of our crew returning. And yeah, see you guys. If you're watching this on YouTube, then give us a like and a subscribe if you want, just so that it helps the algorithm see that the folks doing Star Trek stuff and Let's Plays of role-playing games are worth your time. Thanks guys, hailing frequencies are now closed.